All right, let's cut through all the noise and talk about one of the biggest and maybe most confusing buzzwords in tech right now, AI agents.
I mean, you're hearing this term everywhere, right? It feels like you can't escape it. Your CRM has an agent, your chatbot is an agent, every single new feature is suddenly being called an agent. But what does that word even mean anymore?
Well, look, this isn't just some harmless marketing hype. We've seen this exact playbook before. It's a pattern called agent washing, and it's a rerun of cloud washing from the 2010s, where you just slap a new, flashy label on old tech. And all that does is create confusion, which can lead to some really serious business risks.
And the stakes here are incredibly high. Back then, the companies that fell for all that cloud washing hype didn't just waste a bunch of money. No, they lost something way more valuable: strategic time. Time they could never, ever get back. And that's exactly what's at risk right now with AI. Okay, so let's really dive into this. To get it right, you first have to understand the problem. So how can you spot agent washing when you see it, before it costs you? So here are the red flags, the things you really need to look out for. First, be super skeptical if you hear vague talk about reasoning, but they can't give you any technical specifics. Ask about the architecture. If it's really just a simple script that makes a single call to a large language model, that's not a real agent. And if they promise full autonomy, but the system still needs a human to babysit it and correct it all the time, yeah, you're just looking at some clever automation, not a true agent.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about what an agent isn't. So let's get really clear. What are the key characteristics that actually define a true AI agent?
Think of it like a 4-point checklist. First, a real agent is autonomous. It can pursue a goal on its own. It's not just mindlessly following a script. Second, it's multi-step. It can actually plan on a sequence of actions and, importantly, adjust that plan if something changes. Third, it's adaptive. It learns from feedback and from new information. And finally, and this one is absolutely crucial, it's action-oriented. It doesn't just talk about doing things, it actually interacts with your other systems and tools to get things done.
So how do they actually do all that? To really get it, we've got to look under the hood. Let's check out the architecture that makes all of this autonomy possible.
A true agent architecture is built in 3 key layers. It all starts at the bottom, with the foundation. You can think of this as the agent's brain. It's where it keeps its memory, both short-term and long-term, and it's how it connects to all your company's data to stay grounded in reality. Now, sitting right on top of that foundation is the workflow tier. If the foundation is the brain, then this layer is like the project manager. It's the orchestrator. It takes a big goal, breaks it down into a concrete plan, assigns tasks, and makes sure that if you have multiple agents, they can all work together without stepping on each other's toes. And then at the very top, we have the autonomous action tier. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where the agent stops thinking and starts doing. It uses tools and APIs to actually go into your other software, updating your CRM, running a report, sending an email. This is where all that intelligence finally turns into real-world action. But there's a huge problem. For this whole 3-tiered system to actually work, it needs to connect to all the other software your business uses. And historically, that has been a total nightmare. It meant building these fragile, custom-coded connectors for every single tool. It's messy, it's expensive, and it's a massive bottleneck. This is where a new open standard is coming in called the Model Context Protocol, or MCP. And honestly, the best way to think about it is like a USB-C port for AI. Instead of needing a different, clunky adapter for every single device, MCP creates one single, secure, standard way for any agent to plug into any tool.
And this comparison just lays it all out perfectly. On the left, you've got the old way, a tangled mess of custom, brittle integrations that are an absolute pain to secure and audit. But on the right, with MCP, you get this clean, scalable framework where security and governance are baked right into the protocol itself. That means you get a single, uniform audit trail for every single action an agent takes.
So, with a solid architecture like this in place, what's the actual impact on the ground? Let's talk about how this moves from just a cool theory to tangible, real-world return on investment.
Let's start with sales. You know all that repetitive admin work that bogs down sales reps and that they absolutely hate doing? Well, by handing that off to real AI agents, organizations are seeing productivity gains of up to 47%. That's a massive amount of time that reps can now spend actually selling.
So what does that look like day to day? Well, you've got agents that can automatically enrich new leads and even draft personalized outreach emails to speed up the pipeline.
or a co-pilot that analyzes call transcripts to flag deal risks, or even forecasting agents that analyze your pipeline and give you way more accurate revenue projections. Now, if you think that's impressive, check out healthcare. The ROI here is just staggering. For every single dollar invested in AI, organizations are seeing a return of $3.20, and that's within just 14 months, all by freeing up clinicians from those mountains of paperwork.
And this is being driven by agents that can tackle some of the most frustrating parts of healthcare administration. I'm talking about agents that automate the entire prior authorization process, or agents that prep patient charts by summarizing their history and flagging risks before the doctor even sees them. There are even agents that ensure billing codes are compliant, which helps everyone get paid faster.
And finally, let's look at customer service. The results here are pretty much a slam dunk. An overwhelming 90% of customer experience leaders are already reporting a positive ROI from their AI investments, mostly because they can deliver faster and more consistent support.
Okay, let's pull all of this together. Let's talk about an actionable plan that you can use to cut through the hype and start finding real ROI inside your own organization.
So here's the most important takeaway. You absolutely do not need to launch some massive, multi-year boil-the-ocean transformation project. In fact, that's probably a trap. The key is to start small, prove the value on a small scale, and then use that success to build momentum.
In fact, here's a simple 4-step framework you can follow. First, just try it yourself. Seriously, build one tiny agent to automate one of your own annoying tasks and just track the minutes you save. Second, pick one use case for one team with a clear goal you can measure. Third, run a small pilot with maybe 5 to 10 people who are excited to try it. And finally, take those results, package them up, and use that as the business case to build a formal plan for a wider rollout.
Which brings us right back to where we started. You're now armed with a clear definition, you've seen the technical blueprint, and you have an actionable plan, so you can now decide for yourself. Is your organization actually building the future with real agentic AI, or are you just falling for the hype and renaming your technical debt?